Have you been keeping up with the headlines coming out of the Department of Education lately? The current administration's implementation of the One Big Beautiful Bill is trying to redefine which programs qualify as professional. The result? Major fields like nursing, architecture, accounting, and education are risking reduced student loan access. The official line is, "Oh, it's just about restructuring loans and driving the cost of education down." But let's be real. The critics are seeing right through it. They know the majority of people in these roles are women, often women of color. This isn't just bureaucratic accounting. It's an attempt to limit graduate-level advanced thinkers and future policymakers. It will drive first-generation college students and people with less means towards private lenders and higher debt, crushing their dreams of a bigger piece of the American pie. This is happening in a world where other developed nations reinvest in their young people, giving them free, prepaid higher education so they can graduate ready to produce and pay it forward. It makes the words of our luminary woman today hit so hard. One of the best ways of enslaving a people is to keep them from education. Today, we are going to get to know Eleanor Roosevelt, the First Lady of the world. Before we embark on this amazing journey, I want to invite you to check out the new Her Stance website, www.elevateherexistence.com. This is the new hub for all the podcast episodes to revisit all of these fabulous women who have influenced the world that is threatened today. Plus, the Her Stance shop for the Essential Feminist Toolkit and other digital products, books, and merch to show your support for the show, and the newsletter sign-up form. The newsletter is now relaunching as the Four Mothers Dispatch. Read all about it there, and please become a subscriber. I look forward to being in touch with you right from that website. Again, it's www.elevateherexistence.com. Anna Eleanor Roosevelt was born into affluence in 1884, but her childhood was anything but easy. Talk about a rough start. Before she was 10, she lost both of her parents and a brother. She was then raised by a harsh and critical maternal grandmother who, tragically, damaged Eleanor's self-esteem. But here's where the legend begins. Her education, specifically at London's Allenswood Academy, was her saving grace. Her teacher, Mademoiselle Marie Souvestre, with her passionate embrace of social issues, opened up Eleanor's world and became an early, powerful force in her social and political development. This strength and self-worth she found through education is what led her to one of her most famous and poignant quotes. "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent." After her social debut, what young women did back then to enter the world of adults, she didn't just join the high society circuit. She dove into activism, teaching immigrant children on New York's Lower East Side as part of the settlement house movement, and witnessing firsthand the abject poverty her students lived in. These experiences spurred her lifelong efforts to address poverty and its social ills. In 1905, she married her distant cousin, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, a charming Harvard graduate. But once again, she faced domestic control, this time under a very watchful and critical mother-in-law, Sarah Roosevelt. For a long time, Eleanor was simply the dutiful wife, raising 5 children under the watchful eye of her controlling mother-in-law, while her husband's career advanced. The true shift came in 1918. After discovering FDR's extramarital affair, Eleanor's feelings about the marriage changed. Though she remained married, she began to live a far more independent and politically active life. This betrayal was, ironically, a catalyst for her independence. She took the ultimate lemons to lemonade approach. She became intensely active in politics to both help FDR maintain his interests after he was stricken with polio in 1921, but also, critically, to assert her own personality and goals. Now, let's talk about her brand of feminism. She didn't initially join the suffrage movement. She even held back on publicly endorsing it. But once women won the vote, she was all in. She had already been practicing social feminism for years, joining the settlement house movement and investigating poor conditions in factories, believing women were uniquely qualified to solve societal ills. By the 1930s, she had a clear mission. As she asserted in 1935, the fundamental purpose of feminism is that women should have equal opportunity and equal rights with every other citizen. She mobilized a distinct women's political culture, working tirelessly with the League of Women Voters and the Women's Trade Union League, and even became head of the women's division of the Democratic National Committee. Her goal was clear: to protect women's interests, advance women's equality, and empower women to promote social justice. When Franklin won the presidency in 1932, Eleanor wasn't happy, but she didn't just stand by. She became the most politically active and influential First Lady in history. She basically invented the modern First Lady role. She became the first First Lady to hold her own press conferences for women reporters, ensuring women journalists had access to high-level information. She was the first First Lady to travel the country extensively, acting as the president's eyes, ears, and legs to personally inspect the effects of the Great Depression and report back on working and living conditions. She was the first First Lady to speak at a National Party convention when she addressed the 1940 Democratic National Convention. She wrote nearly 3,000 articles, including her popular daily column, My Day, where she connected directly with the public, often donating her earnings to charity. During World War II, she was the first First Lady to plant a victory garden at the White House to boost morale and encourage food production on the home front. She actively lobbied her husband to appoint more women, successfully securing Frances Perkins as the first woman to head the Department of Labor. Eleanor Roosevelt saw her role as pushing for a constructive program, and she insisted on inclusivity. She ensured groups left out of the initial New Deal, like women and people of color, were included by seeking revisions to programs. Her dedication to racial justice was undeniable and powerful. She tirelessly championed organizations like the NAACP and National Urban League. In one of the most visible acts of protest in 1939, when the Daughters of the American Revolution, DAR, refused to allow African-American singer Marian Anderson to perform in their auditorium, Eleanor Public resigned her membership in the DAR. At the Southern Conference for Human Welfare in Birmingham, Alabama, she refused to comply with local segregation statutes. When a police officer demanded she move, she moved her chair to the aisle between the white and black sections, refusing to sanction racial segregation. She believed that if democracy was to survive, it must be because it meets the needs of the people, and that adequate education and adequate material security were essential. After FDR's death in 1945, Eleanor Roosevelt's greatest work began. Appointed by President Harry Truman, she served as a delegate to the United Nations, embracing the cause of world peace for over a decade. And this is her ultimate mic drop moment. She chaired the United Nations Human Rights Commission and helped write the foundational 1948 Universal Declaration of Human Rights, UDHR. Now, what is this declaration? The UDHR is an international document that acts like a global roadmap for freedom and equality. It was a direct response to the barbarous acts of the preceding world wars. For the very first time, this document set out 30 fundamental rights and freedoms that belong to every single human being on earth. A common standard of achievement for all peoples and all nations. Crucially, Eleanor fought to ensure the Declaration included not just the traditional political and civil rights, like freedom of speech and life, but also social and economic rights, like the right to Social Security, health, and education. As she famously put it, you cannot talk civil rights to people who are hungry. After 85 meetings, the UDHR was approved, and Eleanor had succeeded in cementing her commitment to comprehensive social welfare and universal civil rights on the international stage. She continued her work until her death in 1962. At the request of President John F. Kennedy, she chaired the President's Commission on the Status of Women, PCSW. The PCSW's final report, released in 1963, entitled American Women, became a blueprint for the modern feminist movement. It documented widespread discrimination against women in all sectors of society. Key findings and recommendations of this groundbreaking study included documenting pay inequality. The report confirmed that women earned significantly less than men and were concentrated in low-wage, quote, female-appropriate jobs. Need for support services. It called for affordable, high-quality childcare for all income levels and paid maternity leave, acknowledging that most women would work at some point in their lives and that family life needed institutional support. Equal opportunity mandate. It demanded equal opportunity for women in hiring, training, and promotion across government and private industry. Expanded education. It pushed for greater access to counseling and continuing education to help women re-enter the workforce after raising their families. This work, which she launched just before her passing, helped pave the way for the Equal Pay Act later that year and set the stage for the wave of feminism that followed. In her 78 years, Eleanor Roosevelt overcame personal tragedy, chronic shyness, and institutional sexism to become one of the most admired women in the world. Her influence was so undeniable that she topped the Gallup poll as the most admired woman in the world 13 times between 1948 and 1961. For her work on the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, she was awarded the Phi Beta Kappa Distinguished Service Medal, and years later received the United Nations Human Rights Prize posthumously. She was even nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize 3 times. As the poet Archibald MacLeish said a year after her death, "Only rarely does a great name grow greater when its owner leaves it, as Eleanor Roosevelt's unquestionably has." Her words, her spirit, and her energy, which pushed the world to define human rights to include both food and freedom, resonate today even stronger than ever. It's never been more imperative that we take her charge and apply it to our communities, our federal government, and the world. Well, you've reached the Her Stance Challenge. And again, I have 2 great challenges for you. Number 1, the eyes and ears commitment. Eleanor was the president's eyes and ears, traveling to witness poverty firsthand. Your challenge is to commit to learning about one local injustice that doesn't affect you directly, whether it's housing insecurity, educational funding gaps, or a local policy that excludes a marginalized group, and report back on it to your own community or elected official within the next month. The next one is the food and freedom link. Eleanor famously said, "You cannot talk civil rights to people who are hungry." Your second challenge is to dedicate your activism to bridging that gap. This month, choose an action that links a civil right, like freedom, with a basic need, food, housing, or education. For example, volunteer at a food bank and call your legislator about a bill on minimum wage, recognizing that economic security is a human right. Let me know the results on Instagram with hashtag HerStanceChallenge, or send me a note through the website www.elevateherexistence.com. We can change the world one action at a time. Her Stance was produced and hosted by me, Sandra Cayley. You can contact me at contact@elevateherexistence.com. Visit the Her Stance website for episode show notes and more information on the books by and about Eleanor Roosevelt. She authored 6 over her lifetime. And sign up for the 4 Mothers Dispatch newsletter right there on the website. Remember, Eleanor also said, "A woman is like a tea bag. You can't tell how strong she is until you put her in hot water." I'd say it's time to start boiling.